TSM's jungler standing by for a post-game wrap session.
Thank you very much. Great cast on the day, gentlemen. I'm here with the jungler of TSM, Svenskeren, after that victory over EnVy. I want to start off with that matchup here. Coming into today, EnVy, they were looking like a top 4 team. What were your expectations on this team, and did they meet your expectations after the match?
Okay, so I think EnVy really surprised everyone by the start of the split by how good they actually looked, because they're like a pretty new roster, and last split they were like relegated or something. So I think they like kind of surprised everyone, even me. Like I was really surprised by how well they're doing. So I kind of thought they would be harder now, but yeah, they're not bad, but we were just better.
Oh, you're talking about being better. You guys are still undefeated, and your last matchup is P1 to reach that halfway point. And if you do that and you beat all of them and you end up being 9-0, what are your expectations right now of the league? Or sorry, what are your impressions of the entire league after you have almost reached that halfway point?
I'm not really thinking about being undefeated because we still lose games in the best of threes, like we lost yesterday. So not really thinking about being undefeated because the league as a whole seems pretty good now. So like C9 and Immortals are still really good teams. So we're not going to underestimate anyone.
Especially with P1 next week at the bottom of the standings. And it's kind of a trap game because you have Immortals right after that following in that week. So how are you going to not look too far ahead for that Immortals game and still prepare for P1?
Yeah, it's just like every week kind of, because we played like Energy and Echofox as well before the game today. So we kind of underestimated Echofox a bit yesterday, and we could kind of see it in the first game where we just slipped up. So next week I think it's going to be a big point that we don't like get overconfident and just take everyone with like the same practice.
And final question for you here, Svenskeren. In spring, you were second most deaths in the league at 61. Crumbs had 62, so luckily he took that away from you. But in playoffs, something clicked for you. What do you see as the biggest factor that allowed you to improve so drastically, and now you're this top jungler in the league?
I'm not really sure. Like probably just the team clicking more together. So it makes my job like 10 times easier when everyone is on the same page. So usually there will be problems like I have to gank too much and people calling too much for resources. So I would just be everywhere and then kind of dying and not getting any farm. But now it's like everyone takes responsibilities if I get behind. So it's not just my job.
All right. Thank you very much, Svenskeren, for the interview. Congratulations on the victory, and also looking forward to next week. Good luck with those games. Now we're going to send it over to the desk with Dash, Mark, and the death leader of Spring.
That's very cheeky there, Zyrene.
One more than Sven, the one-upper.
Yeah, you had to, right? I mean, if you're gonna, you might as well die.
There's
most,
no war
right?
for second place.
Exactly.
I'm a winner in my eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
First in death.
All right, well, a very humble Svenskeren after a 2-0 victory over EnVy, the last big team that they needed to beat in their first half of the split out of TSM. As Zyrene mentioned, Phoenix won, the team that they have left to play. So TSM looking pretty incredible through the first 8 matches that they've had so far this split. And honestly, given the fact that we thought this was going to be, well, you didn't. You thought it was going to be a 2-0. Crumbs, you thought it was going to be a 2-1. What are the elements about these games that you think fell apart for EnVy that disallowed them from pushing into a third game?
Both games were a lane swap, and TSM was winning the lane swap right from minute 140 because their lane swap strategies were varied as well, and particularly in using the TP from Hanser to make it into the top wave to assist with the push, whereas Seraph did not. And when you do that, you allow yourself to push faster, which means that your top laner now has more time to catch up on CS. Not only that, this second game, Hanser actually stalled out the wave with his little bird as Swain, harass Tsunami, kill the wave, TP to the bot side, get the push faster, and get more CS, whereas Seraph on Trundle just jungling around, walks to the top lane, doesn't use TP, and luckily EnVy doesn't make the same mistake as the previous game where they go to trade turrets again, but it's still such a bad situation where you have to lane Nami Trundle against Ashe Karma. You're not going to win.
So yeah, we did see them make an adjustment this game at least.
Right. I mean, I initially said yesterday I thought a 2v1 would potentially be good for them, but obviously not. They really got outplayed in the 2v1.
It was like 30 to 2 CS or something like that.
And I think a lot of that comes down to the draft too, because the way that, you know, with the Swain counter pick, you just really can't put the Trundle against it. And when the Swain already gets ahead off the 2v1, you're behind in tempo. What most teams would do there is, you know, kind of standardize and stabilize their lanes and go back. But they can't do that by putting the Trundle in the long lane versus Swain with a frozen wave. The Trundle will get destroyed. So I think the idea to put the Nami with the Trundle is better, but it's making the best of a bad situation, and they just kind of slowly give away an advantage.
You know, to be honest, I think this has to do with lack of preparation because EnVy came in with the idea that Trundle was such a strong priority pick, which the time where this was relevant was when they played against CLG last week, where Trundle first pick was just a huge thing in all 3 games. But now, when you look at TSM, they don't care about Trundle. It's all about Aurelia and Swain for them. So denying the Trundle, which isn't really denying because TSM is still going to get the matchups that they like. They don't care about Aurelia into Trundle. They don't care about Swain into Trundle. They'll play into it any time. And the denial pick just seems like it could have gone to a much better use.
And this is an odd thing because up to this week, we had nothing but good things to say about EnVy's draft. And particularly because these players have such large champion pools, Seraph, Ninja, playing a number of unique champions, we felt as though they could walk into any draft against any team and they could counter the play style or the favored champions of that team. But it hasn't been happening either in this series today or the rest of the week.
Well, specifically for this series, I don't think that they really did have a good matchup in terms of their pools versus TSM because both of them like really highly prioritized the Lucian, and it looked like EnVy really overthought that. They banned it game 1, game 2 they take it, and TSM are prepared for that. And then with the Trundle pick, like Crumbs was saying, you know, they have Swain. No one else is really playing Swain topside. So when you pick the Trundle early, you have the Swain counter that you didn't have to worry about for pretty much the whole rest of the split, right? So I think this is the kind of thing where they weren't as prepared as they should have been maybe, or just they thought they had it figured out and TSM is just a step ahead.
Well, right, but Seraph does have 10 other champions he can choose from to go against that Swain, is
Well,
my point.
right.
Also, Double F's Ashe was possibly his worst performance so far this split. It was,
We can see why.
and that's not to say it was bad, I'm just saying that it did look less
he missed some arrows.
less fantastic than even his Sivir play. So, it is one of those things, though, I just think where, there's a breakdown. And what was working so well for them for 3 weeks, we've finally seen kind of falter in their champion selects. Moving ahead, though, I want to go to our only replay of the game. This is 21 minutes into the game. It's going to be in the jungle here. TSM, the nice little pincer setup here that's going to kind of catalyze the rest of the game.
So the reason how all this starts is EnVy once again getting outpaced. They're trying to push a turret, whereas TSM already got the tier 2 and is just rotating towards collapsing on them. And it's a similar mistake to the previous one in game 1 where they try to force a fight out of desperation and feeling like you're getting out-rotated, out-pressured. We need to do something. We can't be bleeding out. And it's just not going to happen because in this day, TSM was just a much better team.
Right. I mean, it's a pretty common strategy. If you can't hold, then try and trade. And they just couldn't trade either. They were so far behind. And they get the rotation behind them. TP comes in to hold the turret, double kill into a Baron play where, they try and go for the steal, but it's just really well played by TSM where they really stall and slow down and know that they have a 5v3 situation. They don't need to be fast.
Player of the game for this one, again, kind of a team effort. It's going to go to Hanser, but the whole team finding a way to get him ahead in that lane swap had a 2-level advantage, 8-6, as we saw against that Trundle, moving his scoreline to 2-0 and 7 by the end of the game. Just another solid performance on this champion. He really has shown, of all the top laners, that he is a terrifying Swain, which is funny because Quas is in the league, and this guy was once known as, the Swain god.
Yeah, you think, it's one thing maybe if no one's playing Swain and then Quas isn't playing it either, but you see this other guy playing your champion successfully, you think maybe it's like, yeah, I'll try that now.
Right.
But I think it's important to point out how useful the Swain is outside the game as well, just the pressure it can put in the draft phase where you don't know if you're safe to pick these melee top laners that everyone else is prioritizing when you're against TSM because he has that counter pick prepared, so you ban it, and it's a very out-of-game element, but very important.
Well, TSM remains top dog after their win against EnVy today. We're going to take a quick break, but don't touch that browser. When we return, our second series between Apex and EchoFox will begin.
They can't find us for that.
Get the fucking tape, take your pants off.
Hey, Peter,
and
what's
tape-
your combos on Lucian?
Dennis, you have to dash in, and then dodge the Cassiopeia, make like a highlight play for Reddit, and then
dash
you
out
just
again.
kill them.
Dennis
Yeah,
isn't
then
that
you
good,
just kill
guys.
them.
Come on.
Squeeze their enemies right under their own turret. Whoop. Looks like they may actually get procs in. There it is.
She's dead, she's
I'm
dead.
going Lucian.
Go Lucian.
I'm coming, Lucian.
I have lasers.
Grace, jump. Grace.
It's fine. I have flash.
Oh, he's dead. Can we do ban? Can we do ban?
I have Sweeper.
Force ban, force ban.
Start it.
Oh, look at those hops. Oh, high five. Procs in on the dog caster minions. TSM take down EnVy 2-0.